Welcome this afternoon. If you're just joining us, we're on page 2 in Unit 6 with our Do Now activity, and we're reading the paragraphs about blending. We look forward to being back with you in about 2 minutes to begin our K5 CKLA Unit 6 through 10 webinar. Hello and welcome everybody to our K5 CKLA Unit 6 through 10 webinar this afternoon. We're here with Jim McClure, our technology wizard. Rita and I will be presenting, and Sherry Griffin, our literacy leader, is going to be taking your questions as our moderator. So down on the left-hand side of your screen where you see the chat icon, if you want to click into that, you'll be able to send in questions and comments throughout the presentation this afternoon. Okay? We'll take as many questions as we can online throughout the presentation, try to work those answers into our work. And at the end, everything will be recorded so that we'll be able to do a question and answer sheet, and everyone can have the same running record of the topics that we covered, the questions you asked, and the answers that we were able to share. All right, so to begin our webinar, it would be really helpful to make sure that you have your copies of Units 6 through 10, a copy of the story reading routine, and maybe even a copy of the overview sheets that were sent to your coaches. Okay. With those tools in place and in mind, let's take a little walk back and think of how far we've come already this year. Think about Units 1 and 2 back in September and October when you were teaching students your tripod grip and continuing to count the words in sentences. And thanks to Rita, remember that time in training when you did your 1, 2, 3 blend? Well, we've taught our students how to blend and segment those sounds in words. Then we took our first corner and we turned it in Units 3 through 5 when you systematically began to teach the sounds and have students work on real decoding and encoding strategies. And in Units 3 through 5 you were patient, gave your students a chance to automatize those sounds, and now we're really ready to get into 6 through 10 where they're really going to begin their reading work. So in order to do our webinar today, for Units 6 through 10, we're first going to begin with a little preview of the biggest pieces in the upcoming units. And one of those big pieces is the sounds that it's going to introduce to us, all our new phonemes. And we'll kind of skip that slide for today. Yeah, here we go. All right, so what's new? In Unit 6, we're going to be learning that the S spelling for the Z sound. Up until now, words like Sam and Sat all followed the rule of one sound for the S. But what we're learning in Unit 6 is that now in words like is and has and does, there's going to be a new spelling for that Z sound, and it's going to be that S. In Unit 7, we're going to work on all the digraphs. In Unit 8, we'll look at the double letters. And Unit 9, that's the point at which we're going to introduce uppercase letters that have a different shape than your lowercase letters. So you can look at a few of those examples in Unit 9 listed there. And then in Unit 10, that's going to be the first time we'll be working on some long vowel sounds in our upcoming long vowel teams that appear in Unit 10. Okay, so just an overview of where that's going to lead us. And then in Units 6 through 10, we're also going to work into the student readers. So we've done our demonstration stories, and now we're going to meet new characters like Kit and Seth and Sam, Zach and Ann, and Scott. And our hope is that each school has been able to purchase or print these readers for their students. So please talk with your coach or principal if you're still in this acquiring process. Some schools have had really good luck uploading it onto their iPads for easy access, and as an alternative to purchasing the books through duplicating too. And we continue to work for a way to add those to your Chromebooks. Okay.
So let's talk about who's ready to move on to Unit 6. Why is it important for the kids to have the sounds mastered before learning letter names? As you know from reading this section, we know that students can confuse letter names and their sound values, so we need to make sure that they have mastered their sounds. Consonant clusters will be problematic if the blending of three sounds is difficult, like going from lap to clap to claps. When we're blending the consonant sounds, if they don't have their sounds mastered, this will become very difficult. Not to mention learning diagraphs that come up in Unit 7 where we take the two sounds to make a new sound. If students are not ready, the program strongly advises stopping to work on blending before the unit begins. This could mean staying in Unit 5 just a little longer and doing more remediation with the pausing points, or reteaching previous lessons until the students have mastered that blending skill. So let's talk about a few things that we're going to be looking at in Unit 6. Consonant clusters. Consonant clusters are basically the consonants that we blend together, like the ST in stop, or the SK in ask. These are introduced in Unit 6. Letter naming. Yay! We got to letter naming. Now we can start with giving these letters names, and the purpose for that is for our spelling. We need to make sure that from now on, you should use the letter names only when you are spelling words. Only when spelling is convenient. Also in Unit 6, rhyming words come in. We teach the kids that words rhyme when they end with the same sound, not the same spelling. Eventually, the kids will generate their own rhymes. Reading text independently. We always want to use the I do, we do, you do format. After the word work is done in each lesson and prior to reading stories, students will be introduced to new challenging vocabulary words. These words have been created by the coaches and are ready for use. They're on the TLC. They are provided in folders labeled 6 through 10, and these words are to go onto your word wall or in your word work stations. Practice by giving the definition, asking for the word, or giving the word, asking students to give the definition. So if you give the definition, they should be able to give you the word. Or if you give them the word, they should be able to give you the definition. We'd love to hear from you on how these work. So if you have games or workstation ideas that you make up from these words, we'd like to hear from you on those. In Unit 6, Lesson 1, students will be introduced to Kit and her family, her friends, and her pets. The stories will be introduced as demonstration stories. The first read is an uninterrupted read by the teachers, and you can pull out your handout that says Demonstration Story Routine with a picture of the stories on the top, the front of the unit stories on the top. During the second read, the teacher reads the story again and points out words with the new spelling patterns. Important grammar markers and punctuation and or challenging vocabulary are also to be pointed out, can be pointed out during the second read. On the third read, students are invited to join in with you. That's the we do part. And then the students can have the opportunity to read with a partner or read in a group. That's the I do part. Or I'm sorry, they do. We do. I do, we do, you do. That's the you do part. After the vocabulary has been taught, the program sets an intention or purpose for reading the story. Students are then presented with comprehension questions. We'd like you to see the accompanying reading routine sheet further on the bottom and on the back side. Accompany the kids' stories are literal or write their questions. Examples of these are, where does Kit keep her hats? How many hats does Kim have? Who is the main character in the story? What does Fred drink? Who said, "Stop it, Fred"? What is the setting of the story? Teachers are asked to present these questions orally, not for the kids to see, as they contain non-decodable words. They are also asked to model and encourage students to answer incomplete sentences using the question as the stem to their answer. Example would be like, Kit keeps her hats on the shelf. After students answer whole group comprehension questions, they will practice reading the story several times with a partner. The program recommends partner reading as the most favorable way for independent practice and repetition of the passages. In this video, you will see an example of the ear-to-ear, shoulder-to-shoulder strategy outlined on page 33.
Right. And we'll send that link to your coaches so that you can watch it during the next grade level meeting.
We have a question from Maggie. Do the questions ever become inferential in kindergarten?
We will get to that. Nice segue. It's important for teachers to establish this ear-to-ear or partner reading routine by modeling and providing students with positive descriptive feedback, so that they can maintain, the independent practice, because we want the kids to have many opportunities throughout the day to read the stories. They need to have those routines in place. They need to be taught what fluency is, what it sounds like, and what its purpose is. This information and more can be found on pages 5 and 6. Please flag these pages for future close reading. The program also uses tracking as a tool for accurate and efficient reading. Model running your finger under the printed text on each page each time you read. As you are modeling, you are explicitly instructing them to do the same. Smooth, continuous tracking will help them pull the eye across the page and encourage fluency. Watch to make sure that your students do not get in the habit of tapping their words, as this will cause the eye to jump and will cause breaks from word to word in a robotic, non-fluent way. You may also want to demonstrate making a mistake when reading and encourage a class to assist in correcting you. When you make a mistake, be sure to go back to the beginning of the sentence and reread that sentence. Develop a strategy so that when the kids do partner reading, they can do the same thing. They will learn how to correct their partner, ask their partner to go back to the beginning of the sentence and reread the whole sentence. One type of a sentence stem might be if, as the student is reading and they say a word wrong, to say that word is, go back to the beginning of that sentence and reread.
We have another question from MSLS. They're wondering what the rationale of the partner reading positions is. So why the shoulder to shoulder?
Oh, you don't need it? Sure. Okay.